my friends. They are my power.
Hey guys, welcome back to another Kingdom Hearts theory. If you're new, welcome and thanks for stopping by to get hyped for this channel. Today's Kingdom Hearts theory is going to be a very special case, as it doesn't really tackle a mysterious subject on the lore, nor does it try to uncover secrets that riddle the Kingdom Hearts universe. So if you're down for that change of pace, please don't hesitate to keep the hype flowing by hitting that subscribe button, liking, and sharing the video. So, how about we get into the theory? Now, have you guys heard about the very eerie and saddening theory about the entire series of Kingdom Hearts? The Sora's mind theory? No? Well, let me break it down for you. The theory suggests that the adventures that Sora and the crew have in all of the games actually take place within the mind of a troubled and socially impaired Sora. The reason why he travels through Disney worlds and why he works with Disney and Final Fantasy characters is because those are his favorite mediums. Final Fantasy being his favorite video game series and Disney being his favorite movie series. The theory suggests that Sora spends his time alone, playing with various toys or lying in his imagination about these wondrous adventures. Apparently, he has trouble making friends and connecting with others, so that's why he does it in his dream world. A pretty sad theory, isn't it? A theory that I didn't come up with, of course, but I feel I should expand on it exponentially, as it does have massive potential in its hypothesis, including what the Kingdom Hearts characters could represent, the general theme for each game, and what they mean to Sora. Each character, each adventure, and each game may represent something very pivotal and very tragic in the life of this real Sora. So, how about we take it from the top? The story of Kingdom Hearts and Sora himself is actually a projection and a representation of a troubled and introverted Sora and his time in an orphanage after the tragic loss of his entire family. Each game represents a different time in Sora's life in the orphanage, and characters and experience also represent real-life characters and situations that Sora deals with during his time as an orphan. This gets very long and detailed, so you're gonna have to try and keep up with me. Of course, this is still a bridge from the original theory. Sora's favorite film series is Disney, and his favorite video game series is Final Fantasy, in which he uses these as a catalyst for his imagined adventures. But instead of being an outlet for a lonely Sora's imagination, it's also a coping mechanism after the traumatizing experiences that Sora has had in his life. But let's elaborate more on this. Sora's parents and older brother died in a terrifying accident when he was young, let's say around 10 years old. This accident also damaged Sora as well, requiring him to have surgery. Afterwards, he's placed in an orphanage. Alone and scarred, Sora decides to create adventures in his head to escape his now miserable life in foster care. This, ladies and gentlemen, leads to the conception of Kingdom Hearts, the beginning in which Sora searches for strength and healing, which is represented with his desire to see the outside world, not being confined to this tiny Destiny Islands, in which turn represents the orphanage. He then goes on fantastic journeys throughout many Disney worlds, coming into contact with many Disney and Final Fantasy characters that help him along the way, destroying Heartless, which represents unfairness, the cruel fate that tore him from his home, his family, and seeks to keep him miserable for the rest of his life. Sora seeks to fight that. This adventure leads to the first main Kingdom Hearts villain you come into contact with, Ansem, the Seeker of Darkness. Ansem is actually a real person in Sora's life. Ansem is actually Sora's foster agent. Though not bad, Sora, being young and traumatized after losing his family, blames Ansem for placing him in the dull, miserable foster care he now resides in, and now he has imprinted him as a villain for the adventures in his head. As for his friends Riku and Kairi, they also represent real characters in Sora's world. Riku is the boy that Sora strives to be, always looking up to him, trying to be fearless and strong. But Riku's association with the darkness and the heartless is tied to something cruel in Sora's life, and we'll get into that in a bit later. While Kairi is the girl that used to live next door to Sora, and was nice and comforting during his time of loss, leaving Sora to dream about her being a princess of pure light, and one who would accompany him on his journey in his mind. In Kingdom Hearts Rechain of Memories, Sora is a bit older now and must now start school in the orphanage. The teachers there are represented by the Organization 13, each with their varying personalities and traits. Sora will often be uninterested in class, sleeping and dreaming of his new adventures. This causes him to be scolded by all of the teachers but one. That teacher in particular has a soft spot for Sora, Axel, who of course, as his status of a teacher, is introduced as an enemy but grows to be an ally in the Kingdom Hearts series. Axel's fondness for Sora is attributed to another sad fact that we'll explain a bit later. At this time, Sora is classmates with Riku and Kairi, but is introduced to Kairi's shy fraternal twin sister, Namine, who is often drawing in class, and is too scolded by some teachers, including Larxene. Sora thought her drawings were great and would often defend her at times, leading to bickering between the students and the teachers. This newfound courage to defend a classmate can be seen as the start of Sora's growth, in which he is put to sleep at the end of Read Chain of Memories. Later on in the events of Kingdom Hearts 2, Sora is older and now attends higher classes. This introduces more teachers that will fill up the rest of his classes. These teachers would make up the rest of the Organization 13, as you see in Kingdom Hearts 2. Sora is still miserable and seeks to escape to his fantasy world of Final Fantasy and Disney. But he starts to open up and understand the world more, but he is still troubled and still resides in the orphanage. The principal of the school is none other than Xemnas. Once again, the principal isn't bad, but Sora blames him for the schooling system and his misery within it, and dreams of him being a villain that must be stopped, or rather must pay, like his foster agent, Ansem. Now in this game, we are introduced to the foot soldiers of the Organization 13, the Nobodies. As the Heartless represent the cruel unfairness of fate, the Nobodies represent random people in Sora's classes and life. He doesn't care for them, nor does he feel inclined to get to know them. That's why they're called Nobodies. In Kingdom Hearts 2, Nobodies are beings without hearts, and their types are offshoots of various members of the organization. You could say that each type of Nobody fits a certain mold in a cookie cutter. Taking that into mind, these cookie cutter Nobodies could represent certain cliques in the school, and these cliques would often tease, ridicule, and bully Sora to the point where Sora decides to remain disconnected from them, not to care for them, thinking they have no hearts or emotions. With the defeat of each of the organization members in the games, it represents Sora passing those classes with rigorous tests and hard work. All except for the class that Axel taught, since Axel is shown to be fond of Sora. Sora's initial disdain for Axel diminished over time, and he was able to focus on his class and work with little problems. But why does Axel show fondness for Sora? Remember how I said that characters in Kingdom Hearts are representations of real characters in Sora's mind? At times where Sora was being bullied in school, he would often think of his older brother who passed away. This older brother is represented by two characters in the Kingdom Hearts series, Ventus and Roxas. The reason why Axel is fond of Sora is because he used to teach his older brother before he died, being his favorite student. In an attempt to share his grief and connect with Sora, he would often share an ice cream between studies and would say that this was your brother's favorite. In Kingdom Hearts 2, Sora would try to give his brother a new representation in the form of Roxas after hearing this. The final fate of Roxas and what happens to him will be expanded on later. As we get to the events of Birth by Sleep, this may be one of the most deranged stories that Sora weaves in his mind. In this game, we are introduced to Aqua, Terra, and Ventus. Ventus is Sora's older brother in his true form, and Aqua and Terra represent Sora's parents. These are the three who died in the horrific accident that left Sora an orphan. The game's events shows the tragic story of how all three of them fell, representing how they were taken away from his life. This game also has three narrative representations that fit into Sora's life and how he pictures certain people. First is Master Xehanort, the one who caused all of the despair in Birth by Sleep and the rest of the games. In reality, he is actually the director of the orphanage that Sora resides in. Once again, Xehanort isn't evil. Sora just blames him for the predicament he's in. Sora hates the orphanage, and that hate is also branching into Xehanort. Second is that Eraqus represents Sora's living grandfather. At first, Sora was comforted at the notion of living with his grandfather after the accident. However, Xehanort and Ansem deemed that Eraqus was too elderly and unfit to raise Sora without concerns, and unfortunately had to be moved to the orphanage. This is represented by Xehanort killing Eraqus in Birth by Sleep, Xehanort taking Sora's grandfather away. And 3 is the reason why Sora tags Riku with the darkness in his imagination. It's because when Sora's family was still alive, Terra, Sora's dad, showed an affinity for Riku, Sora's childhood friend. Something that Sora would pick up on and would feel inadequate about, and disconnected from his father. Something that's represented by the Keyblade inheritance ceremony that Terra conducts with Riku in Birth by Sleep. Now, as we're gearing towards the end of Birth by Sleep, it becomes apparent that during the accident that Sora lost his parents and brother, he did not come out unscathed. In reality, Sora had his internal organs damaged and he needed an immediate heart transplant, and his brother Ventus was the only one with a matching heart that would be optimal for Sora to receive. This obviously beckoned in the game in the event of young Sora accepting the heart of Ventus at the end of the game. With the advent of 358 over 2 days, this is the tale imagined by Sora of the plights of his older brother Ventus, now giving a new persona in his head as Roxas, and Sora still feels a connection to him due to his heart. The story of 358 over 2 days is basically the retelling of Ventus' time during school and him being taught by the teachers who represent the organization members in Sora's head. This is basically the story told to Sora by Axel, and then Sora would imagine it as part of his epic. We move on to Recoded. At this point, he has passed all of his classes, and knowing he's facing the brink of adulthood, a late teenager. But he feels empty. All of this pain he's been carrying around this whole time is starting to make him realize that it may not be good for him. Maybe the world isn't as cruel or unruly as he unfairly thought of it to be. He starts to look back and reevaluate himself, a journey to find where all went wrong. This journey is represented through Recoded. What all of Sora's representations have gone through, he remains cheerful, something that the real Sora takes into account and thus has a better world grasp due to this. Finally, we are at dream drop distance. Sora is gearing up for college and his look on life seems to be a bit better. And hey, Riku and Kairi are along for the ride too and getting ready to attend the same college. Everything seems to be going better for Sora at this point, but sure enough, things get tricky. With a healthier mindset, Sora is ready to take on everything until he meets young Xehanort, and which we'll simply refer to as Zehan, an upperclassman who acts as Sora's reality check, often butting heads with him and his views of the world. The real world is a very aggressive and tough environment, something that Sora doesn't know due to him dreaming of his fantasy world most of his life. Thanks to Zehan, his mind goes back to where it was. This represents his mind grounded back down again and paints the picture for dream drop distance. Sora is gearing up for college and faced with a new challenge in life, with new teachers representing the new organization, the 13 Seekers of Darkness. But this is all before he actually goes to college. Now this is the climax to the theory. Why Kingdom Hearts 3 hasn't released yet? Why is it taking so long to get made? Because Sora doesn't want it to. He doesn't want to grow up and go to college. Thanks to the events of Dream Drop Distance, his worldview is being shaken. He is too scared to complete his journey into adulthood. Going to college means he'll have to leave the orphanage and never see Xehanort again, hence the end of the Xehanort saga. Though he hated the orphanage and Xehanort when he was younger, he has now come to understand he did indeed care for him after the accident, and the orphanage has become a comfort zone for him. Saying goodbye to all of that and facing the world as an adult, he can't handle it. That's why the fantasy of Kingdom Hearts 3 has yet to be. All of this analyzing talk and themes of representations are how I feel that Sora could be painting a picture for us about his tragic story in real life and plights that were spun off into one idea of the game series. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you have anything to say, please feel free to leave a comment in the comment section below. Share this video with the world and bring more minds to this theory. And at the end of the day, this is still a theory. So I hope you guys enjoyed it, and until the next one,